Welcome to your gentle yoga practice for stress relief. Hi, friend. I am Katie Arnold. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to your yoga mat. Today's practice is a beautiful, gentle practice designed to help us release stress and worries and anxiety. We actually carry a lot of stress and tension in our bodies. There is the saying that the body keeps the score, and it's true. We hold this stress and tension in our bodies. And you can even think of the fact that when we think of stress, we feel that rounding in, that going inward. And for me personally, I notice that a lot of my stress and tension, it either ends up in my shoulders, but even more so, it ends up in my hips. And so today's practice is really designed around releasing the hips. So for our practice today, I am recommending that you have 1 to 2 blocks. If you don't have them, they are not necessarily a requirement, but we are going to do a supported malasana. And if you don't have a block, you're just not going to take it supported, but it can be really nice to have so you can ease into the hips a little bit more. So if you don't already have your props available and your mat rolled out, go ahead and do so and meet me right back here. All right, so we're going to get started in a seated posture. Any seated posture that feels supportive for you. I am currently sitting on a block. You can sit like I am. You can sit with your legs crossed. You can sit however feels grounding and anchoring for you. And as you settle into that space, I want you to feel just that. I want you to feel grounded. If you feel comfortable with it, I invite you to close the eyes down. And if that doesn't quite feel safe for the space that you're in, then just start to soften your gaze, taking it on any unmoving point. Be gazing down the tip of your nose. And find length through your side body, length through the spine, so that crown of your head is pulling up towards the sky above us. And hands can just rest down on your lap. They can rest on your knees. And start to let the shoulders drop down the back, so releasing them out of the ears. Especially when we're in a season of stress, we might find that those shoulders start to work their way closer and closer to the ears. So we're just going to intentionally let them drop down the back and soften. And we're going to invite in a little bit of breath work here. So we'll inhale for 2, and then we'll exhale. So it'll look like inhale, inhale, exhale. So you can start to join me. Inhale in 2 parts. So inhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale through the nose. Inhale, exhale through the mouth. Take 2 more. And just soften back down. Starting to invite the nervous system to calm down. And start to transition to our malasana, our yogi squat. So we're going to take that block with us. Feet are going to come out nice and wide. Feet planted down on the mat. So this is our malasana, hands at heart center. We're going to take that block. We're just going to slide it underneath the seat. So depending on your openness, where your body is at today, you might have that block on the lowest height. You might have it on the middle height. You might have it up on the highest height. And if this is still not quite enough, if you have a second block, you can stack 2 blocks on top of each other and find your variation. So letting those elbows come on the inside of the knees. Hands at heart center, palms pressing together, and just gently guiding those knees outward. And send a gentle breath down to the hips. So we're not continuing that breathwork practice right now. Because this practice today is slow and gentle, maybe the eyes stay closed for the majority or the entirety of this practice, letting your gaze turn inward. And intentionally seeing if we can just be present. If you're in a season of stress, or maybe just having a stressful day, you might be feeling that weight of the world on your shoulders. It might be hard to fully disconnect from whatever that stressor may be. But in this short practice, can we try to find a little bit of a disconnect from that stressor? And maybe that disconnect lasts about 5 seconds and that stressor bubbles its way back up to the surface. And just like in a meditation practice, right, we acknowledge that as it comes up. And then we see if we can let it go. We can come back to our breath. We can come back to this posture that we're in. And we're going to take that left hand down to the left foot. Reach that right arm up. Add a gentle twist here. One more round of breath. And come back through to center. And take that right hand to the right foot. Left arm is going to reach up. And back through to center. Plant your hands down on the mat. Slide that prop out. And make your way to a tabletop position. So I'm going to set my block off to the side and we're going to come into a half pigeon pose. You can get to this from downward facing dog if you'd prefer. Otherwise, just right from that tabletop, we're going to slide that right knee up behind that right wrist and the left leg is going to come out long. You can stay on tall arms. You can come down onto your forearms. You can use a block and slide it underneath that right glute for a little bit of support, especially if you're finding a little bit of height there. You can also rest your chest down on the block. So I like to come onto my forearms and then just slide that block underneath for a little bit of support. If you can come even further, that block could also come underneath your forehead. So a lot of options here to really make this work for you. And breathe into the hips. Breathe into this opening. Take 3 more breaths on this side. And roll on to that right hip. Swing that left leg around, coming into a seated tree pose. That right foot on the inside of the left leg. Inhale, reach the arms up high. Square your shoulders with that left leg. And you can start to fold forward, grabbing onto whatever is available. It might be the calf, it might be the ankle. Maybe it's the bottom of the foot if that's available to you today. And inhale, sitting back up. We're going to extend both legs out in front of us now. So both legs extended, feet flexed back towards the face. And inhale, sweep both arms up. And exhale, folding over both legs. And again, just grabbing onto whatever may be available. Inhale, can you lift up halfway? Find a little bit more length in the spine. And then exhale, fold a little bit deeper. Next inhale, pulling yourself back up. And bring those feet in, roll over those ankles, and come back to that tabletop. We'll take that to the other side. So we start with that half pigeon. That left knee first comes behind the left wrist, right leg extends. Find the squaring of the hip. So pulling that left hip back a little bit, that right hip forward. Stay on tall arms if this feels best for you. Or you can come down onto your forearms. And I want to also fully acknowledge that each side is a little bit different. So you might find one side to have a little bit more space to settle into than the other. And instead of judging ourselves for that, can you just honor your body? Honor where it's at. And first come back into those tall arms. Roll onto that left hip. Swing that right leg around. Find that seated tree pose. Inhale, reach the arms up. Turn towards that right leg and then fold forward. Finding your depth. And inhale, sit back up nice and tall. This time, bring the soles of your feet together. Knees are going to come out nice and wide. So we're in a butterfly position. Find length up through the spine and then start to fold forward. Again, go into your depth. Maybe you use a block underneath your forearms. Maybe you can fold a little bit deeper and it comes underneath your forehead. Finding support, finding space. And sit back up. And we're going to come back to our seated posture from the start of this practice. So any seat that feels grounding and supportive. Maybe it's the same, maybe it's a little bit different, like it is for me today. But ground down through those sit bones. Soften the gaze. And again, checking in with the body. Maybe letting the shoulders drop down the back. Find the length through the spine. Allowing the shoulders to stack over the hips. We'll take a couple more of that breath work that we did at the start of this practice. So 2 inhales and 1 long exhale. So inhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, inhale, exhale. 3 more. Last one. Return the breath to neutral. Integrating this practice. Checking in on a body, mind, soul, and spirit level. And inhale, sweep those arms out nice and wide. Let your palms meet overhead. And exhale, let your hands come down through heart center. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel more space in the hips, and I also hope you feel less stress in the body, in the mind, and the soul. Om Shanti, peace. Thank you so much for joining me for your practice today. If you don't already have my free simple practice for stress relief, the link is in the description below. Make sure you grab it. Otherwise, I will see you back on your mat for your next practice.